Okay.
Wow. And look at the bottom of my ankle.
Hello, people. I'm not sure if I'm outside hanging out with the kids, but I'm not sure if you guys caught my earlier video, but I was talking about real friends. And I've been hearing people say little phrases about friendship and friends. And I mentioned in my previous video that when I was in middle school, one of my middle school teachers told me, he said, in your entire lifetime, you will be able to count your friends literally on one hand. Your true friends, your real friends on one hand. And, when you think about that, bud, I don't want you in the stream. I don't want people seeing my children all the time in these videos. So you guys need to go over there. Thank you.
Dustin.
No, that's not Dustin. Hey, go sit down and eat that because I don't want it all over the place. My kids, they be trying to be YouTube famous, and I don't want them in the cyberspace. But I know what I'm doing, honey. Why don't you guys go inside, both of you? Thank you. Bye. Thanks. That's, love you too. All right. Thank you. Because this.
And then we'll come back out.
Then when I say to, when I'm done, because apparently you guys don't know what be quiet means. Okay, kids. But anyways, they just jump in. It's like as soon as you do the live stream, it's like they come up with like 1,000 things that they want to talk about and do and it's like, come on, I done set y'all up. We done went to the ice cream truck right before this live stream and y'all still bugging. But anyways, talking about real friends and quality friends, right? And I'm only going to speak from my own experience because, I've had a series of friends that I consider to be pretty close to me cycle through my life. But, some of them, it was like almost breaking up with somebody kind of friends where you guys just did everything together and y'all rolling together in the same spots and y'all just doing all y'all crazy stuff together. But then somewhere, I got a grand epiphany that, you know what, I probably need to take this college thing, super duper seriously. I probably need to kind of focus on, where this money that I'm spending is ultimately going to lead me professionally. So, around, I would say junior and senior year of college, I got really serious. And a lot of the friends that I was hanging out with, they were just like, oh, you want to go out here? You want to go out there? And I just really did not have time. So then I started feeling like a crappy friend, right? So I felt like a crappy friend, not having time for these people, but I was still trying to make time as much as I could. And when I did hang out with them, I felt, the quality of person that I was trying to become and the quality of person that I was when I was around them in constant conflict because a lot of the behaviors and a lot of even the interests that a lot of my friends were into, I was slowly beginning to lose interest in those behaviors and those interests. And so there was a contradiction because obviously, people they get in their feelings when you make progress and you want to do something different with yourself. And they get to the point where, they start making you feel bad about making those changes in your life. And so that's when you start to really think about who your real friends are. And even when I think about these young people and some of these guys that are in gang affiliated lifestyles, these people, they call these people their friends, their brothers, but these people are also just as desperate as they are to get out of a situation of poverty and other situations that impact their mental health. And so when you come from a different situation like that with these poverty line guys, they don't understand trust. They only understand trust from the standpoint of would you kill for me or for the same things that I kill for, and that's it. So what I want people to start doing is thinking about their friends objectively from the standpoint of the value that they add to them. right? And I don't want this to be a long live stream, but I want people to start thinking about the quality of individuals in their lives and what do they ultimately do for them, right? What do these people do for you? You know what I mean? Are these just people to have fun with? Is it that is the extent to why some of these people are in your lives? Or do these people actually add value? Do these people encourage you to be better? When you think about wanting to be better, do they ask you why? Or do they encourage you to go the distance to figure out how you can be the best person that you want to be? Do your friends put their anxieties and their stresses and their troubles on you to the extent where you can't progress? And a lot of people may think that that's what friends are for, that we're supposed to be there, we're supposed to listen to each other, and we're supposed to basically hold the burdens of our friends' problems. But when you think about that friend that constantly comes to you with problems, even when and this the best example of this is when things are going well for you. Things are going well for you, and you're just on 10, and then you try to celebrate with that particular friend and they just can't do it. They can't celebrate with you, and you're sitting up there, in this weird space because you want to be happy for yourself and your accomplishment, but then you got this friend who tries to basically deflect from your happiness by talking about all the woes and foes of things that's going on with them. And when you think, I thank God for my real friends, they encourage me and remind me of my value at my darkest hour. Amen. And that's what friends are supposed to do. But even in your darkest hour, too, some of those friends have to be, you know, you have to trust them enough, and they have to be real enough friends to be able to tell you in your darkest hours where you need to make the adjustments. And I find that in today's friendships, it's almost like you're a bad friend if you tell your friend what areas that they need to make adjustments. And, I find this especially with female friends, right? Female friends, sometimes they get so committed to an ignorant mindset that once you elevate your mindset and you try to start, giving them encouragement, they take your encouragement as being shade, or you're trying to get them to be like you in some way, when really you're just trying to say, hey, you know what? You and I had a similar mindset at one point, but I've done things to elevate mine, and I really want to get you there too. I mean, that's a good friend when they elevate themselves and then they take their friends with them. You know what I mean? That's the ingredient of a good friend. When you elevate yourself and when you are able to take your friends with you. But sometimes some of your friends are not going to want to go with you. And those are the friends that you have to start really isolating and identifying as possible people that really should not be in your circle. Some of these people should not be in your friendship circle for a variety of different reasons. And most of that is they are not wanting to elevate, they're wanting to stay in that same place. And they're expecting for you to ride with them in that state of mind. You know what I mean? And I think that's where the individual has to really come out in some of this friendship type, you know, circles, if you will. These day ones, these 100s, are your day ones elevating you? Since you've been with these people day one, have they contributed to your elevation in any way? I think a lot of people need to start asking themselves this question. You know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of people are stuck in this pattern of life and behavior because they are absolutely around the wrong people. You have women giving other women poor advice because they're miserable, they're ignorant, and they're locked into a lifestyle that they want their female friends to continue to be locked into as well, you know? So I want people, and this is especially for our parents too, because when I was growing up, my mom was real meticulous about my friends. We could not hang out with a friend if my mom did not know their parents. We could not. There was no overnight spending a night over people's houses. My mom was completely against that. I'm completely against that as a parent myself. We just don't live in the same world. But my mom was very particular. She had to know the parents. She had to know where these friends were cut from, and she wanted to make sure that these kids were a good influence on me. You know what I mean? And I appreciate my mom, instilling the value of being selective in the type of friends that you have early on in me and my siblings, because it really helped me to look at even some grown-ups that I've been around, and even if I got sucked into their behaviors, I was able to step back and come back to the lessons of my mom, and like, okay, I understand why this person is not a good influence, this person is not valuable for me to be around. So I'm telling parents, we got to get back to the business of parenting. You know what I mean? I feel like we're not doing that enough. And so these kids are kind of having this free for all of being able to pick any kind of influence they that they choose via their friends, and and really make reckless decisions. And if you've taken any type of psychology class, most psychologists will tell you that between the ages of 2 and 8 is really when you want to have a strong foundation of parental guidance, and a sense of authority and understanding, respecting you. Because otherwise, after that, you kind of lose them to their peers. And those are the last people you want to lose your kids to, is their peers, because their peers are 9 times out of 10 going to convince them to be a certain way or mold them into a type of way that is not going to be beneficial to them. So I want people to think about it. I see a lot of people who believe that their value is based off of the the size of their friendship group. You know what I mean? You see people rolling 50 deep. A lot of these rappers these days, they're rolling 50 people deep. And a lot of these people are involved in things that really don't merit them rolling 50 people deep. I look at the case of, the Main Street rapper right now, Lil Durk, and I'm like, I can't imagine being Lil Durk right now. I really couldn't imagine being that rapper, being a multimillionaire, getting out of the hood, elevating yourself vicariously through your craft. But because of your friendship group, you can't even enjoy the success that you've acquired for yourself, because you have friends in your circle that are, secretly jealous. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't want to address the fact that they have secretly jealous friends. You know what I mean? Secretly jealous friends who lack the ingenuity and the mindset to elevate them like you did. And so they are secretly jealous of you, and I say they fake celebrate you, right? And the fake celebrators, right? This is how you can tell the fake celebrating friend. When something awesome happens for you, right? These people, they be like, oh, that's cool, but you must think that you all that now, right? Females do this, the fake celebration friend, right? It's like, oh, but they got to add that little caveat, right? That is a jealous friend. And people need to start recognizing this. Oh, you must be all that. Oh, you must think you the shit right now. When your friends say things like that, when you are trying to celebrate a win, that person cannot, celebrate a win with you. They're not a good friend. They're jealous of you. I count my actual friends on one hand, and we've been tight for many years. Everyone outside of this small group are merely acquaintances. I say the same thing. There are some people, most of the people that I interact with are acquaintances. You are not a 100. You're not somebody that I would tell my deep, dark secrets to. Who your friends are. You know who you can trust. You know what I mean? Because these aren't the ones who are ready to run their mouth about you. They can defend you even behind your back. You know who your real ones are. And that goes back to the point I was saying earlier in this video. In one lifetime, we're going to be able to count our real friends on one hand or less. You know what I mean? And that's the realest. So if you got a pack of 10 friends, trust and believe you ain't rolling with no real ones. I look on Instagram and I see how they try to sell friendship as being this quantity thing instead of this quality thing. The internet will sell friendship as something that if you don't have a big circle, you're basically a loser. When really the people who have the smaller circles are the ones that's winning. Because when your circle is small, you can identify the slimes, the ones that will backdoor you a lot quicker than you would rolling 10, 15, 20, 50 people deep, and y'all all supposed to be best friends. It don't make no sense. I consider my friends as family, as do I. There's this woman, like, we have a couple of family friends that are practically families. I mean, their kids are so tight with us that, they're considered our cousins. You know what I mean? That's how tight our families have been. But, and at the same time, though, even with their kids being real tight as with us or whatnot, because we're not around each other all the time, I still call their mamas might be close friends of the family, but for me, the kids ain't really like that. Even though they are supposed to be our cousins, to some of us, they're kind of acquaintances to me because we really don't have that close interaction like that when I think about it. So, but they are considered our cousins because our moms are so tight. But there's no family relation at all. But I think about this more and more as I get older, and I think about the influences that really inhibit people from being their best selves. And a lot of that has to do with the association that we have. If you don't have friends that are constantly elevating themselves, they're not going to elevate you at all. If you have friends that are stuck in a mentality where they cannot, kind of break from that mentality and succeed, they're not going to be that encouragement for you to break whatever mentalities that you have in order for you to succeed. And I think we need to start being realistic about these things. You know what I mean? Friends are not the same friends that we used to grow up with. Who sung that song? Was it Houdini? Friends, how many of us have them? Friends, I think that was Houdini. But for real, a lot of us don't have real friends. We got squads of acquaintances that we are posing as friends, and those squads of acquaintances could care less if we succeed or not. Matter of fact, those squads of acquaintances are going to try to figure out every little sneaky way to keep us in a marginalized mindset. So I wanted to just share this insight with you guys because, I talked to I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I'm constantly talking to her about the friends that she inherits, and she's getting a memo. One thing I like about my daughter, even if she resists the things that I say, eventually she'll come to a rationality and she'll be like, Ma, you're right. I had to, cut this person off. I had to cut that person off because they weren't valuable to me. They were draining my energy. And I tell my 16-year-old, it's like, there's a difference between being a good friend and inheriting somebody else's problems and issues to the point where you can't function as a person. That's not healthy. And I don't encourage my friends to be that kind of friend where they are constantly inheriting somebody else's problem and draining their own energy. I don't. Oh, okay, it was Houdini. I thought so. That was my jam growing up. My mom, she used to play it because when you got, I'm a 90s baby, right? But my mom, she was all into the 80s stuff. But back to it though, I tell my daughter, and this is where we really need to get the parenting back in, because again, the schools are training our kids that we're toxic, that we don't understand them. You know what I mean? So you have to set that parenting, that respect of, not your ideas, but, your opinions about making decisions with your kids early. And one thing, like I said, I'm proud of the fact that my 16-year-old will do is, even if she resists the things that I say because maybe they go against what she wants to do at that time, she can kind of come back after experiencing the consequences of not listening to me, and she'll be like, Ma, you right, and that's one thing we really need to start doing. And the best way for parents to set the best example of, making good friends, quality friends, is making sure that when you have people around your kids, they're quality people. They're people that, just as much as you enjoy their company, you wouldn't mind your kids learning from those people. You wouldn't mind your kids emulating, those people in some way, with a positive quality. So I wanted to make this quick. I'm coming up on like 20 minutes, but, individually, and, as we try to raise our kids in this ever crazy world, think about your friends and think about what they encourage you to do. And sometimes, with parents, you got to kind of highlight those consequences of not listening to you. And if your kids believe in the Bible, tell them about the story about Dinah. Dinah, remember Dinah in the Bible? Her family, you know, told her, about the consequences, the possible consequences of going and partying with the people of the city. And I think his name was Sheikum. He was one of those hot guys, right? And Dinah snuck away to go hang out with these people, hang out with this crowd of people that her family discouraged her from not hanging out with, and as a result, the Bible tells us that she was violated or she was raped. You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to really paint the consequences of having bad friends to your kids as well. You know what I mean? These are scenarios, real life scenarios that have happened as a result of people having bad friends. You know what I mean? And this trickles down even into adulthood. So I hope everyone have a wonderful day. Think about your friendship circle. Do you have a fake friend? Do you have a friend that can't celebrate your wins, can't encourage you to elevate? You know what I mean? That's a friend that you might want to get rid of, because real elevating friends will encourage you to take the risk that will make you better. They will encourage you to stay on the path of being better. They will be able to celebrate your wins without any caveats of you trying to be better than somebody else. Because at the end of the day, I think people who are trying to improve themselves are trying to be better. You know what I mean? And real friends wouldn't equate that progressive mindset with trying to be better than them, unless they were also a progressive friend. So I would say target progressive friends as well. Your children are seeing the benefit of being a thinker, something quite rare these days. I do. I challenge my kids to think all the time. I challenge them to think outside of what is normal and what people say, and really sit with themselves. You know what I mean? And that's what I want other people to do too. We have really lost the power and the ability to just sit back and look at things objectively, and even look at people objectively. When we ask, am I my brother's keeper? You know what I mean? I believe that we keep our brothers to a certain extent, but our brothers also have to figure out how to keep themselves. And if they can't keep themselves in a way that's going to progress them, you know what I mean? Then why should we keep them? You know what I mean? I would much rather teach somebody to fish than give them a fish every day. You know what I mean? If I'm just giving you a fish every day instead of teaching you how to do it yourself, you know what I mean? I'm not benefiting you. But on the flip side, if you just expecting for me to give you a fish every day and you're not willing to put in the work to learn how to fish so that you don't have to rely on me to give you fish every day, you know what I mean? You're not a good friend to me. You're to me, you're more of a project than a friend. You know what I mean? And you got to think about things like that too. My sister, she has this really good friend, and I told her, y'all gonna get enough of playing that money game. I lent you this, and then next time you lend me this, I lent you this. Next time you lend me this or whatever. And I'm like, do you not realize that you ladies are enabling each other? And you're enabling each other with poor money habits, because most of the time y'all lending each other money because y'all spent y'all money poorly. And now you looking for somebody to lend you money so that you can get to the next payday, right? And everybody has that struggling friend. But my thing is, if you're struggling, you're struggling. But if you're struggling and you making poor decisions with your money or whatnot, how much of your struggle should I inherit or take up? If you broke because you spent all your money on things that are not necessities for your household, as a friend, is it really, should I really feel bad that I refuse to give you the money to sustain you into the next pay cycle? Tell that to the folks in government. Hey, people are conditioned all kinds of way. I don't think people are really conditioned. I don't think people are really conditioned to be self-sufficient these days. The government, social media, all these little movement and these activists, they're really pushing for, I don't want to be self-sufficient. I want somebody to take care of me, because we live in an age of entitlement where people don't want to get up, show up, and put in the work. But if America went to shit tomorrow, if everything collapsed, tomorrow, and this country had to rebuild itself, The only people that will really survive are the people who had a trade and who could critically think. All the emotional ass people would not sustain. You know what I mean? And that's just the bottom line. It's the rules of life. It's the rules of life. I don't understand why people don't get that. I don't give a fuck how much the government wants to say we will take care of you, we will be your daddy. You know what I mean? What they're basically taking the man out of some of you. If you're a man and you want to live off the government and you think the government should take care of you, they are literally taking the man out of you. And I wonder if I can read this because I'm working on a book, but there's an excerpt in my book. Let me make sure I'm still live. That I want to read to you guys. It's a quote that I'm including in my book. And I'm not sure if I'm going to open my book up with this quote or not, but it's an Ayn Rand quote, right? And she talks about the rationality of men, people, right? And Ayn Rand says rationality is man's basic virtue, the source of all his virtues. Man's basic vice, the source of all his evils, is the act of unfocusing his mind, the suspension of consciousness, which is not blindness, but the refusal to see, not ignorance, but the refusal to know. Irrationality is the rejection of man's means of survival, therefore, a commitment to a course of blind destruction that which is anti-mind and is anti-life, right? So if you're not critically thinking, if you're not, applying your rational and objective mindset to, how you approach people in life, the relationships you have in life. I don't want you in the camera, honey. Too many creepy people on the internet. Not you fine folks, but I'm just saying on the replay. You never know. I try to keep my kids out of these videos. But it's one of those things where, a lot of people have neglected their rationality and they're looking for other people to basically sustain their lives, because what she said is if you're irrational, you're basically anti-life. You're anti-life. So I would say align yourself with people who are rational, people who can elevate you, people who can encourage you, people who can celebrate you. Avoid people who are fake, who always have an excuse for not being great, always have an excuse for why they can't accomplish something or do something. And, watch out for those friends that you try to put on and they disappoint you. I don't know if anybody has this experience, but one thing I really hate is I have a staffing background and I literally stopped plugging my friends for jobs. And I don't encourage people to plug friends for jobs if they're in need of jobs, at your job, because your reputation is on the line. And I remember there were several times where I would have friends, oh, I'm looking for a job. I'm looking. And I couldn't even get these people to show up for the interview. I mean, I had one friend cancel on the interview 20 minutes before it started with some BS excuse. And that was embarrassing for me. And I cut that friend off ASAP. You know what I mean? Because I don't play that. It's like you said you wanted to elevate yourself. I have a resource that can help you do that. And it was pretty much in the bag. And then you don't show up for the interview. You're not a friend. I was a friend to you, and you weren't even a friend to me in return to be respectful of the friendship that I'm demonstrating to you. So a lot of friendships are one-sided anyways. When you think about it, I've always had, not always, but I've had friends that I've had to cut off where I just felt like I was giving too much. You ever have that friend? It's like you give, and they take, but they never really give back, even when it comes to listening to you. When you have a problem, they want to dirt you off. They don't want to, they want to be real quick about your problem. But then when they got a problem, they want you to hear the whole novel and be around for hours, listen to them repetitively say the same damn thing. You know what I mean? That is an inequitable friendship, and that is a friendship that you should cut off because there's no balance in it. You know what I mean? Ayn Rand is brilliant. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. If you ever want to get back to the sense of self, I would definitely read Ayn Rand for sure. But I'm about to get off so I can hang out with these kids because they want to be in the video. That means they want to hang out. So I got to get going. But you guys, mind your friends. Hopefully this was something for you to think about, spark some level of thinking for you to assess your own friendship circle. Like, to me, if you believe that there's a better version of yourself, take the steps to become that better version. And if those steps mean, like in my last video, changing your music, or if it means changing your friendship circle, do what you need to do to actualize yourself and be the best version of yourself. So you all have a wonderful day. Cut off those fake friends. Cut off those friends don't elevate you. And make sure, parents, let's get back to parenting and teaching our kids how to be selective in their association. Selective in their association. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.